Type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There are a lot of misconceptions about which is which, what is what it means, and what version you have. I didn't know anything about type 1 diabetes before I was actually diagnosed with it. So I don't expect the everyday people on the street who don't have diabetes to know anything about this disease unless I've sat down with them and taken the time to explain some of it. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. That means that my own body suddenly decided to attack itself, whether it was because of genes that I inherited or triggered by a stressful event like the flu. I won't die if I eat Sour Patch Kids. I won't die if I eat Starbucks hot chocolate. I won't die if I eat ice cream or pizza or a bowl full of sugar. It's not going to kill me as long as I take insulin with it. So, what happened when my body attacked itself? Well, it killed the part of my pancreas that is responsible for making islet cells. And I need those islet cells in order to produce insulin. Every living mammal needs insulin to live. Insulin is what transports the sugar in our bloodstream to all the cells that need it for energy. Without insulin, the sugar just sits there in your bloodstream. I won't die if I drink soda. I won't die if I eat bread. I won't die if I eat salt. I don't know why people confuse that with sugar, but they do. Uh, how is type 1 diabetes treated? Well, that means you need supplemental insulin. Supplemental means it's coming from somewhere outside of my own body, right? So I take either injections every time I eat and before I go to bed, or I wear something like an insulin pump, which gives me a 24-hour delivery of insulin because you need insulin even when you're sleeping, even when you're taking a shower. I won't die if I eat cupcakes. I won't die if I eat Halloween candy. I won't die if I eat a mint. I, I swear, I really won't die if I eat a peppermint. I'll be okay, but thank you for asking. Type 1 diabetes also involves checking your blood sugar a lot because your blood sugar can do this really quickly and it can do this really quickly. And when you're up here, you're in danger. When you're down here, you're in danger. So your job as a type 1 diabetic is to make this roller coaster a little less exciting, basically. Make it take out the swoops and the overpasses and all of that. It's a big job. Every insulin shot I take keeps me alive for a little longer. And missing just one insulin shot could have me in the hospital ASAP. Like IVs, throwing up, puking, coma, seizures, you name it, just by missing one insulin shot. On the other hand, taking just a little too much insulin could have me in the hospital for completely different reasons, for low blood sugar. Seizure, coma, death. There you go. Every day, every insulin injection, every time I check my blood sugar, I am trying to prevent myself from dying that day. And that might sound dramatic, but it's seriously true. According to the government, type 2 diabetes is defined by when your body doesn't correctly make or correctly use insulin. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's, dementia, and even things like pain medications can lead to type 2 diabetes because of insulin resistance. Hormones, peptides, enzymes, metabolic processes, the way you break down protein, these are all things that can lead a person's body to developing type 2 diabetes. And they are not necessarily things that you have any control over, not necessarily things that you can prevent or reverse or do anything about. Well, the government's website does say that if you are overweight, you are at a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes, and people who are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes are often overweight at the time of diagnosis. It also goes on to say that family history, genetics, and time plays a role in your development of type 2 diabetes. So you could have been developing type 2 diabetes long before you were overweight. And even skinny people get type 2 diabetes. 2 diabetes is both insulin resistance and a loss of insulin. The researcher Ralph DeFranzo suggests that type 2 diabetics have lost over 80% of the cells they need in order to produce insulin by the time they are diagnosed. So we do know that this disease develops gradually. And while you might have started developing a resistance to insulin years ago, you might not actually be diagnosed until you've lost 80% of the ability to produce insulin. Not everyone with type 2 diabetes can actually increase their insulin sensitivity to the point where they don't need supplemental insulin. There are a lot of ways to treat type 2 diabetes, and while diet and exercise can help increase insulin sensitivity, that is not going to cure it, right? There is no known cure for type 2 diabetes. Some of the medications for type 2, according to the government website, include medications that help decrease the absorption of carbohydrates, medications that tell the liver to produce less glucose or glycogen, and that medication helps muscle and fat cells and the liver absorb more glucose from the bloodstream. There is also medication that tells the pancreas to make more insulin. And there's always insulin, right? So we covered that earlier. If you're at a stage in your diabetes management where insulin is the best option for you, then that is the best option for you, and that's what you should do. Exercise is a huge part of treating type 2 diabetes because when your body becomes more active, you're going to naturally burn up more of that glucose on your own and need less insulin. You're also going to make your body more sensitive to insulin, more receptive to insulin. It's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. Because while insulin insensitivity or insulin resistance leads to weight gain also leads to further insulin resistance. So a person with type 2 diabetes is getting kind of beat up on both sides of this battle. As a type 1 diabetic, I've seen my own body become more insulin resistant when I was in college and I was eating a lot of junk food, I wasn't exercising a lot, and I had gained like 10 or 15 pounds over the course of college. After my senior year of college and I had really dedicated my life to becoming active, I saw my insulin needs drop. I went from taking 35 units of Lantus a day to taking like 23 units of Lantus insulin a day. So insulin sensitivity is something that affects all of us. And whether or not you have diabetes, you can increase and improve your own sensitivity to insulin through good habits like eating well, losing weight, and exercising. The results of the Diabetes Prevention Program showed that weight loss through moderate diet changes and physical activity can delay and prevent type 2 diabetes. The results showed that people in the lifestyle change group reduced their risk of getting type 2 diabetes by 58%. In the first year of the study, people lost an average of 15 pounds. Lifestyle change was even more effective in those aged 60 and older. They reduced their risk by 71%. People receiving metformin reduced their risk by 31%. I really don't believe that one version of this disease is more challenging than the other. I know we want to compete and we want to say this is harder than this, but they both have their challenges. So unless you live with type 1 diabetes, like you actually have the disease, you have no idea what it's like. And unless you live with type 2 diabetes, You have no idea what it's like. So if you want to find out, ask somebody. But don't make assumptions. Don't tell them how to live. And, be compassionate. That's really all I have to say.